This video, I'm going to explain context versus Redux. I have written code in context API but not in Redux, so I'll just read it out. I did not write the coding part, just the main important points. When building React applications, managing and sharing data between components can become tricky as your app grows. The more complex the app, the just like Myntra or Amazon, it is saying that managing and sharing data between components can be tricky because we cannot send props from one page to other page directly. It will become very inconvenient. To solve this problem, two common solutions are context API and Redux. Both help in handling state across your application, but they work in different ways. Context API is built into React and is best for simpler apps or cases where you just need to pass data deeply without prompt drilling. Redux is standalone state management library that provides a structured way to manage complex state changes, especially in large-scale applications. For simpler apps, it is saying use this one, that is Context API, and for complex apps, um, where big data, large data needs to be handled, use Redux. That is what it's saying. Starting with Redux, components of Redux. These are three main components of Redux, that is store, actions, and reducers. Like we have, for example, in use a reducer. We have studied that we write it in this way that const state, comma, dispatch is equal to use a reducer, comma, initial initial state. This is the same logic that we write in components of Redux. That is, store is for states. This is state, and this state that is inside of the store. Action is dispatch. Dispatch is a function. Action is also the same function which tells what action needs to be taken. And reducer is a function which tells how the state behavior of the state changes. Sync features of Redux are single source of truth. State is ready only. Changes are made with pure functions. These are the three features of Redux. Use cases. Redux is suitable choice when your application has many states that are accessed by many components. That means it is complex. State management requirements are complex and require a centralized approach. The state of application is updated frequently. Like I written the code in use reducer there. The state was changing frequently. That is for increment, decrement, and the reset. The logic behind application state is complex. The logic behind application state is complex. Context API. The React context API allows the React app to effectively produce global variables that can be passed around. It is a state management solution provided by React. Using it, we can create what is known as context, and the context provides values like states functions. It can be consumed by a group of components that are wrapped around the context. So in context API, we create a context, then provider, and then we consume context. Components of context API. There are two main components of React context, that is provider and consumer. Provider provides and are used to define and keep tracks of specific pieces of state. This component is responsible for providing the data that is shared across components. Consumers are responsible for modifying the state provided by the provider. This also have already seen in the video of context API. Use cases. Context API is a suitable choice when you want to share the data across different components of your application and need a centralized way to access and manage data. Your application has nested components. In this case, in this type of application, you can avoid prompt drilling using context API. The state of your application needs to be changed or updated dynamically. The components in your application that are required to have communication are not related to the component tree. The components in your application that are required to have communication are not related to the component tree. Now, the table which tells the difference between these two. Redux approach to state management. Redux uses centralized store where actions and reducer modify the state. Context API uses a decentralized approach where the state is passed through the component tree using provider and consumer. Components store actions and reducers. Here components are provider and consumer. That is also done. Performance, high performance with large application, simple use and limited to small applications. This is used for large application. This is best choice for small scale applications. Setup requirements. Redux requires a prior setup to be effectively integrated with React application. Context API requires a minimal setup. Debugging with effective Redux tools, debugging becomes easier. Debugging is difficult in case of nested component tree, so debugging is easier on this side. Integration can be easily integrated with other front-end frameworks, can be integrated with natively with React components. Ease of use. Redux is suitable for experienced developers, can be integrated natively with React components. Okay. Size of application. Redux is suitable for large and complex application. Context API is suitable for small scale application. This is their small diagram. Context API one is provider, and then all child components take the data, global data, which is provided by the provider. And Redux component, then action. Action tells what action needs to be taken. Reducer tells the what behavior the state will follow, and then store and then component. This is the important point. Context API is built into React and is great for avoiding prompt drilling when sharing simple data like user authentication or themes. Redux, on the other hand, is a state management library that provides predictable way to handle complex application state with features like middleware, dev tools, and time travel debugging for small apps. I prefer context because it's lightweight, but for larger apps with complex interactions, Redux is better choice. That is the difference between context API and Redux. I hope I have covered all the points. Thank you.